Hey guys, welcome back to another garden tour. It's Sunday morning, June 23rd. Not much has changed in terms of the landscaping. You see the paths and everything looks pretty similar to last weekend. I spent most of last weekend and this weekend really working on getting the rest of the plants in the ground and weeding some of the beds. I kind of let that job lax a little bit. But we'll take a look at all the beds and go over some of the plans for the next couple of weeks. Alright, let's take a look. So starting at the bed on the end, the pole beans have started to germinate. You can see they're starting to poke up through the surface. They'll begin to climb the pole shortly. By next week, I imagine they'll be probably about 2 or 3 inches up each pole. Peas are beginning to climb up their trellises. You can see the edible pod peas. These are the Oregon Giants. Quite broad leaves, really big plants. Produce very big pods. The sugar snap peas, a lot smaller plants, a lot smaller pods, and then standard garden peas on this side. Again, I still have to go through, weed around the edges, but where the plants are in the center of the trellis, none of the weeds usually are able to get established. The peas are really good at choking out any competition. Tomatoes are starting to grow. It's an ongoing task to pull the side shoots out. I have to keep on top of it. I'm always amazed at how quickly these plants can produce new side shoots. And the asparagus again. Not so sure how many more times I'm gonna show this bed. They just sit, leaf out. They do produce flowers and they do produce fruit. I'm not sure if I think the fruit is poisonous or slightly poisonous. Doesn't really matter. Again, quite vigorous plants when you let them leaf out. And looking down the cauliflower and broccoli tunnel, same. Haven't weeded this bed in, probably about 3 weeks now. And again, when you do weed it, because of the weed guard, all you have to do is really go around the edges and around the bases of the plant. The weed guard really keeps your maintenance down in these raised beds. But the broccoli, doing quite well. Brussels sprouts, doing very well this year. We should have a good crop. Again, this bed will sit here. These plants will stay here until, probably about, I would say mid-September before we can harvest anything. But again, with the weed guard, I only see myself, removing the cover and weeding probably about 2 or 3 times during that period. And in this last bed on the one side, I have a bunch of lettuces. And what I did was I transplanted a number of beet plants from another bed where I just scattered the seeds and they were growing up randomly. Not sure if they're going to survive, but hopefully they reestablish themselves and we get a good crop of beets. We'll see what happens. Not quite sure what to do with the remainder of this bed. I'll probably just throw some more lettuce in it as the time comes. I do have to finish the cover. This was just put on very temporarily to keep the deer off of the lettuce plants. Again, anything that's left out without cover here, the deer will eat it, usually in 1 to 2 nights. The bed on the end, I'm planning to take some grapevine cuttings, hopefully root them down, and maybe I can get 3 or 4 grapevine growing. Probably only 3. Get 3 grapevines started in that bed on the end. Now, I was originally going to film this update Saturday morning, but there were so many weeds in the onion patch that if I had, you wouldn't have been able to tell the onions from the weeds. So I spent a couple hours yesterday really going through this bed, removing all the weeds. yeah, without the weed guard down, it's an ongoing challenge. These beds usually take the majority of the time in terms of weeding, but it's just too tedious to, when you have plants that are this closely spaced, to be cutting holes in that weed guard. Now in the bed beside, the parsnips didn't germinate. I'm just going to give up on them. This is the second time I've put them in the ground, and 2 different packs of seeds and still no germination. There's just something about the climate up here, they just don't get started. The spinach, again, sporadic germination for some reason this year, but we have already started taking quite a bit of spinach from this bed. I just don't know what happened here. Really strange. And on the end, this is where I've been taking the beet seedlings from. And further down, kale's looking good. Start taking some of that soon. Swiss chard is looking good. A couple cauliflower plants that I replaced. And then some other random plants down on the end, just replacement plants, because I think I originally planted eggplants here for some of them, but they didn't work. Strawberry plants are looking well. Those bare root plants are starting to leaf out, hopefully produce fruit soon. They all came up, all except for 2 of them. I'll just take a runner and replant it in the ground. But yeah, looking forward to good crop of strawberries. The few pepper plants that I did leave in the ground aren't looking very good. Again, they got hit with that frost. I don't expect them to produce anything. They're way behind this year, so I'm going to leave them in, see what happens, but I expect they're going to just sit here and do nothing. So further down, cauliflower. Yeah, cauliflower. Coming along. Again, the weed guard keeping all the weeds down. I haven't weeded this bed since about 2 weeks ago, since I actually put these plants here. So, good. So we're in the other 12 by 12 bed on the other side of the garden. So we're in the other 12 by 12 bed. I finally got it weeded last week. That took a really long time. What I normally do is keep tarps down over the winter until I get a chance to turn the beds over. For some reason I didn't have a tarp down and the weeds just went crazy, and it took me forever to get these weeded. But on the end, we have 3 spaghetti squash plants, 3 butternut plants. The butternut plants are not looking very good. I'm not sure if they're gonna make it. It would be unfortunate. This is way too many plants for the amount of space that they have to grow. What I normally find is one of the 3 plants won't make it. Some insect damage or something will come and take the young plant out. What I normally do is allow the vines to go out over the lawn. So we try and keep the vines on the outside of the bed once they start really growing. Cucumber plants here. Again, I have to build a trellis for these in fairly short order. I have the material, just don't seem to have the time to get everything done. On the other side, watermelons, cantaloupe, and honeydew. These never work for me, but I keep trying. And then finally, zucchinis. 3 plants. They're fairly hardy. I don't see why they wouldn't take off in fairly short order. And then 2 other tomato plants that my dad dropped off, so put them in the ground here. And again, the blueberry plants looking fine. They're putting on some new growth. Lots of flowers. So should get a good crop of blueberries. All right, that does it for another week, another tour. Can't believe it's almost July. The time is really flying by. But it looks like we're going to have a pretty nice day today, so hopefully get quite a bit of work done. And I'll see everybody next week. All right, see you later.